Welcome to Goon Squad Anime, where we talk about all the anime that you're going to be watching. I'm Ron from Chicago.
I'm MC2K.
I'm Asian Nick.
And today we'll be covering Darwin's Game, Episode 4, Fireworks. So far in this episode, first thing that we went over was the analyst's powers and how her analytics has been playing a key role into her survival.
Right, so we find out in the intro what her powers truly are. And like basically she can analyze the battlefield before everything basically happens. Or not just the battlefield, but analyze everything before it happens.
Like the way you're moving, if you're shooting something, she can find a gap or...
Basically, she can dodge bullets like the Matrix. Yeah. She can also see, like, the example they gave, like, her friend was about to walk across the street and get hit by a car, and she analyzed it to where she could save her friend, basically.
And that was crazy. I was like...
Yeah.
At first, I thought she was going to let her friend get hit, and then that was when she was going to realize that everything she saw before then came true, so now she understands how it works.
Right.
But she was able to save her friend before.
Yeah, and so then after that, that's how the intro starts, and after that, we catch back up with Kaname and Ren, and basically they're still, Kaname's still shooting up all the cameras, and they devise a plan where basically they stop at a certain floor, and then they go back, and they hop in a room to hide, and then they start devising a plan of what they can do. So basically they find out that within this event, they can access the in-game purchases. And she's like, oh, I never knew that you could do this because usually on a one-on-one fight, you don't have time to do this. So basically, they buy a box of grenades.
Yep.
And they start coming up with a plan. And of course, Kaname touches one, so you can create it on the fly now.
Yep.
Along with flashbangs. And so... while they're hiding out in this room, the florist is still looking for them, and then he realizes, like, hey, where did they go? And he realizes, like, oh, they're in this room, and that they're hiding out with, because somehow he does some calculation, like, oh, only they could only hide out in this room right now.
Based on, like, the cameras they were shooting and the direction they were going.
Right. And so he sends all his little minions to that room, and basically that's when their plan starts out. Ren throws a flashbang at them, and she starts making her way up to the 40th floor, and as she's making her way up to the 40th floor, Flores is like, all of his minions follow her up there, and then she starts, avoiding, and he's like, man, are these guys that I took over not that good, or what? And then he realizes, like, hey, there's something different about her. Yeah. And this is where we see her freaking Matrix, all them bullets.
And she even got shots off, like, and chopped them all down.
Yeah, we finally get to see her use her sniper rifle. So she, like, makes precision shots, which, I don't know if you notice, is that she's making non-lethal hits.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because she's not a killer. She's
more of a survivor, just an evader.
Right.
I don't think she's killed anybody, ever.
We don't know that. I mean, she said she'd rather run than fight. So, yeah. I mean, it's possible she could kill someone, but we don't know that.
Yeah. Kind of like Kaname. It's not in her nature.
Yeah. She could be like Kaname. So she probably makes people either quit or she basically outlasts them to make them, freaking digitalize, kill.
Yeah, but they finally went over, like, the actual name of her power.
Right, which is Laplace.
Yeah, I was talking about the little demon from the 18th century who was pretty much a supercomputer who was able to analyze the probability of everything that could possibly happen. So that did give us, like, a little bit more in depth on how her ability actually works.
Right, and it's interesting too because we also found out that the game gave it that name, her sigil. So her sigil's name is Laplace, and so that's what she, like, goes into, like, hey, the game, basically picks everything for you. So she shows Kaname, like, hey, here's all my stats and everything, and I didn't really get to pick anything. So it's kind of interesting on that front that the game does choose, it seems like it chooses what they want to give you. But while Ren is fighting all the goons, basically he's like, the florist is like, hey, where's Kaname at? Did he hide and run? Or what? And he's like, no, those are the eyes of a killer, basically. And all of a sudden he hears an explosion. He's like, what? How did he make it to the first floor? And then it cuts to basically like, he took a whole bunch of bed sheets and rappelled out the window to avoid the blockade in the stairwell to make it down. And so, Kaname's like, all right. Starts, we see him materialize another grenade getting ready to blow open the door to where the florist is at, and the florist comes out. He's like, hey, no need. And the florist is like, hey, let's talk before we basically do this, because someone's gonna die. Either I am, you are, or we're both gonna die, basically. And so he asks Kaname, hey, why do you fight? And Kaname's like, oh, basically not why do you fight, like why do you play this game? And he's like, I got sucked into this game. I didn't choose to be in this game. And for him, I guess he basically says he needed money, and he's like, I realized that a person's life is worth $100 to $200 million, which, I mean, I don't know what he's talking about, if he's talking about his own life or.
Yeah, he doesn't go in depth into it. He just leaves it out there.
Right.
And then towards the end of the fight, that's when you realize he's fighting for his daughter.
Right. So we catch a brief glimpse of like a flashback of his daughter, and his daughter's name is Suzune. And so I guess, in the future episodes, we'll probably see how that pans out. But to backtrack on that, after that, they start fighting. And basically the florist powers is not only can he control, make those blockades and the vines and, the serum and take over people, but he can basically encase himself in those vines and make it like an armor.
That was actually pretty cool. I didn't expect that at first.
And he can also manipulate it while he has it to have a shield.
Right. Yeah. He can manipulate the vines basically around his body to anything he wants. Like a whip, shield,
he
whatever.
He gave himself a little tail. Just for convenience. I was like, that was actually pretty convenient.
Right.
Just in case you gotta hide behind your shield, you can still attack while hiding.
Yeah, and he starts fighting Kaname, and Kaname finally busts out his machine gun and realizes like, oh man, all my bullets are just bouncing off of this dude. And they continue the fight, and Kaname winds up using a flashbang to kind of like get away for a second, but the florist eventually catches up to him.
Kaname still caught the meanest punch ever.
He always gets hit, man. He's still catching punches.
It was a slow motion.
Yeah, like you would think like that punch would have freaking killed him, because I'm pretty sure it would have killed anybody else. So I kind of hate that aspect to it, that he got punched, super hard, and he flies into another room basically and gets cornered. And that's when, I guess you could say like, Kaname gets back to the corner and releases like an inner spirit within inside him, and like he's like, oh, I'm about to die, I can't do anything, and all of a sudden, the words pop up like, are you sure? Yeah. And so then he gets transported into like, I wouldn't say transported, but like, I guess in his mind, he visions this room, and all he hears is this hammering. He's like, what's that sound? It's so soothing. And all of a sudden he sees like this armor smith knelt in front of him, pounding, making like a sword or something, and he basically tells them like, hey, you have all this weaponry, you should be able to use it.
Yeah, he goes, and then he also starts talking about, like, how all these things work, so you can manipulate it to how you see fit.
Right.
Because at first he was saying he can't use the machine gun anymore because all the bullets do is bounce off of him, and he's like, why? If all the bullets just bounce off of him and didn't affect him, why would he need a shield?
Right.
And this is just him having a conversation, like, purely to himself, but not really in real time. He's like, just a sped through conversation. Like, he's just having this conversation. He goes, yeah, why would he need that? So then after that, he goes back to reality where he finally sees, like, he recreates his...
So before we get that, the armor smith, who do you think the armor smith is?
I think it's him.
Yeah.
Or not him, but just his sigil as a person.
Yeah. That could be cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of hints, because the guy doesn't look like him. He has long hair, and then all of a sudden you kind of like see into his eyes, and it's like, oh, I think that's like basically Kaname talking to himself.
Yeah.
You know. So go ahead.
But yeah, so then now that he's back in real time or whatever, and he's back against the wall, he creates, instead of creating the gun, now he creates ammunition, and he keeps it. He has like the
he creates the gun, but the gun, he increases the internal pressure of the gun as well,
and increase the firepower of all the
bullets. Yeah, by 10%, by increasing the gunpowder and the bullets by 10%. So I guess not only can he create all this stuff using a sigil, he can actually manipulate the items as well.
But I'm assuming it's all based on what he understands on how things work.
Yeah, but that his sigil does that for him. Remember, because then he realizes too, like based on all the comments from other people, like Suska, sorry. Yeah, Shuska, basically saying you should be able to use your sigil like you've always had it.
Yeah.
You know, so he realizes like his sigil allows him to understand the breakdown of everything. So he knows how to use that gun without even ever using it before. He knows all the internal parts, what he can change, what he can't change.
You think?
Oh, you got it.
Oh, so you think he'd be able to combine weapons at that point?
I think he should be able to
combine the stun gun with the machine gun.
They may have like the internal conversation that he has all the time might be part of like whenever he develops like a new stage or something. So every time he needs to develop something, he might have that internal thing, and then he's able to do it.
Yeah, because only seems to come up with like when like at
he's
first
backed into a corner.
He's backed to a corner and he feels like he's about to die, and then he said himself that it's like the inner him that doesn't like to lose.
Right.
Yeah. So if that's the case, then every time he's feeling that way, we're gonna see this same conversation played out.
Next evolution. Yeah. What? But he might not always be backed in a corner. He might just be like, oh, okay, what do I need to do? And it just happens too.
Yeah, hopefully he doesn't have to rely on it too much, and then it can just become natural, and it makes it easier for him to just keep going through.
Yeah, and also I think once they like get into like the fully established clan things, I think he'll like be more when we get to like where he actually like trains to use it rather than just using it in fights and like having a scramble and like put things together. But when he actually gets in his mind to like train and work on things, I think that's when he'll like take like really big steps.
Yeah, I could see that too. And then we also kind of find out that basically every sigil is not limitless. It takes a little bit of energy out of you. So like as this fight's going on too, he noticed that like, hey, he's getting tired and fatigued and everything. So he's like, maybe I can only recreate this gun maybe 1 or 2 times. So there goes my theory about using it, over and over and over again. Yeah. But I mean, you can. We did see him make like 3 machine guns.
Yeah, so if he can push through it, it's just eventually he's gonna pass out.
Right.
He's running on pure adrenaline right now.
So as he makes his new improved gun, he starts shooting up the florist, and the florist is like, "Oh, you already know this is futile." And all of a sudden, it starts breaking up his armor, and he's like, "Oh my god!" So then he's like, "All right, this is all or nothing time," and starts charging Kaname. And all of a sudden, he thinks he punches Kaname, and this is where we see the flash of his daughter in his eyes, and realizes like, "Oh no, he lost." And basically Kaname, comes over him, and basically the florist is like, just make it quick, just shoot me in the head, please, And Kaname's like, hey, nah, I'm not about that life. We're gonna work this out. And then, he freaking faints for a second because, he's just to the peak. And then Rin rejoins them and basically tells them that, hey, we need to team up.
Yeah, because then they start going over like how all the smaller people were slowly getting thrown off, and all the bigger clans and all the bigger threats were now at the point where they know where a majority of the rings are now. So now they're about to start going after each other.
Right, because this is only stage 1.
Yeah, so now the point is like, all right, we got 2 choices. We can either go our separate ways and die, or we could form a little clan together and maybe survive.
Right, because basically there's 24 rings within that hotel, and so they're all gathered at one spot, and they know they're going to come for them. So Ren basically says, hey, let's rest up, and we need to team up to basically like team up temporarily to make a makeshift clan to basically fight off the 8th clan because they basically are saying they're going to come for them. And so I think that's where we move on to our next episode, is that we'll see them. Obviously, you know, they're obviously going to team up, and hopefully Shuska comes in there, and, you know, I think she probably meets back up with them too.
Yeah,
hopefully.
So at this point, they might as well, since it's just them in the hotel, just them 3 that we know so far, they might as well divvy up the rings.
Right.
And so
that way they can make it to the next stage.
Yeah, so they guarantee their spot already. And then from there, they just keep going.
Right.
That's how I see that going.
Yeah, and then probably we're finally going to probably get introduced to our next character that's supposed to be part of the team too, because, you know, the machine gun guy, I think is going to play another. You see him in the cover, so you obviously know that he's going to be part of the team. So hopefully we find the backstory out on him probably next episode too.
Oh yeah, because he's already there too. So yeah, so hopefully we figure out how this whole team up thing goes. But.
Yep. All right. So check us out next week for our next episode of Darwin's Game. Hit that like and subscribe button.
It's free.
I'm Ron from Chicago.
MC2K.
I'm Asian Nick.
All right. Oh my God, Nick.
Go ahead, go.
Don't forget to check out all of our other episodes as well. And leave comments and let us know how we're doing. There we go.
Theme music.